Recently, I rewatched the two Top Gun movies to celebrate the 3-year anniversary of Top Gun Maverick. It was such a nice treat to watch two incredibly well-done movies that are just fun from start to finish, and a great relaxation over a nice long weekend. Top Gun is still an amazing movie that holds up incredibly well, and Top Gun Maverick is just such a joy to watch. It got me in the mood to play the Ace Combat games again, when I noticed a few games on my shelf titled Top Gun. Shrugging my shoulders, I decided, why not, and decided to play those instead, and, in doing so, discovered a rabbit hole of Top Gun games I have never heard of before. Not even YouTube had a definitive video of all the different Top Gun games, which piqued my interest on the topic. Top Gun has a lot of games made for it. More games than I think are necessary for what was at the time just a single standalone movie that was basically just a piece of US military propaganda, especially since these games aren't recruitment propaganda and have no affiliation with the US Navy. There was a Top Gun game for nearly every generation of consoles. Even the PS4 and PS5 have Top Gun games, but we'll get to those later. And like I said, there were more games than I thought were necessary. Unfortunately, alongside all the console games, there were a ton of old Java phone games and delisted iOS and Android games that I really just didn't want to go through the process of trying to figure out how to get working. And there was also a handful of DOS games, which I definitely didn't want to go through the process of getting working on modern hardware. But there was also, for some ungodly reason, a ton of Top Gun games for the PlayStation line of consoles. So, that's what I decided to cover. Every single Top Gun game that came out on a PlayStation console. The first game on our list is Top Gun: Fire at Will. Released in 1996 for the PC and PlayStation 1, this game was the first Top Gun game released on consoles since the Nintendo Entertainment System. The game itself uses full-motion videos on a blue screen with real actors, one of whom, James Tolkien, reprising his role from the movie. Though for some reason they changed his call sign from the movie and in the game, and I don't know why. I have to admit though, I kinda like these FMV clips. Sure, they aged terribly, and I'm sure porn has better acting, but it's charming to see what games used to do on console to get cutscenes. The game itself is not terrible, but it's also not all that great. I think the game controls decently, and I admit any issues I might be having are due to playing this on an emulator, but there were some hiccups that I noticed while playing this one. The draw distance, especially for a PS1 game, is really, really bad in this game, which does not work in a game where you're flying around a fighter jet. The AI is also incredibly stupid. Also, it's just not very fun to try to dogfight the AI in this game. They just fly around in circles around your plane, and it takes forever to get lined up and fire your rockets or machine guns at them, unless there's like a dozen of them chasing you. But there is one thing I actually kind of liked about this game. The first-person view inside the cockpit, I said cock, is actually really good, and I think it still holds up really well, especially for a PS1 game by today's standards. I mean, the graphics for the rest of the game are like terrible, but I don't know. This first-person view inside the fighter jet, I think it looks alright. Level design isn't good, though. You spend the first several missions in this boring brown training area shooting at drones before you're finally allowed to go overseas when the plot finally decides to kick off. So like, your first maybe hour or so of this game is just spent in the training section. I mean, I guess that makes sense because, you know, the Top Gun movies really only had action at the very end, but that doesn't make for a very fun game. Oh yeah, this game has its own original plot. Basically, the story is a bunch of mercenary pilots are attacking the Soviet Union like Cuba and Korea, and it's up to the Top Gun pilots to stop them. Why are mercenaries attacking these places, and why does the US care? I don't know. Maybe it's revealed at the end of the game, but to be honest, this game just gave me a massive headache trying to play it. The graphics they're just terrible. It was hard to see stuff. I think I got motion sick playing this one. But this isn't the worst game that's on our list. So I guess it has that going for it. And I can totally see why, if you grew up with a PS1, this probably would have been a pretty decent game for a PS1, at least maybe at the time. I'm not the expert when it comes to PS1 games, so I do apologize for that. Trying to play it in 2025 isn't exactly the greatest experience in the world, but I can see why someone might have some fond memories of this one. And like I said, it's not the worst game on this list, so I think I'll give it a 5 out of 10, though most of that 5 out of 10 are the full motion videos, so
Attention on deck. Please be seated. And welcome to graduation. Now, before we present the Top Gun trophy, I'd like to congratulate everyone on a job extremely well done. The overall performance of this class is the very finest in the history of this school. Under normal circumstances, we'd introduce each flyer and maybe sing a song or two. But we got a situation. 0400 tomorrow, some of us are shipping out for Cuba. The base at Guantanamo Bay has come under attack.
Sir, weren't they ready?
Absolutely, but the Cubans got unexpected air support. That's where we come in. So without further ado, the Top Gun trophy goes to Maverick. Very good. Congratulations, you're now among the finest aviators in the Navy. But the games are over. The next ammo you see will be live. Attention on deck. Dismissed.
The next game on our list is Top Gun Combat Zone, released in 2001 for the PS2 and then later the GameCube and PC. This game is awful. I didn't play this one for very long. The controls are really, really, really bad. They took a more realistic approach, meaning that you have to watch the flaps on your planes and monitor them properly in order to fly. So basically, if your flaps are down, you're flying down, and I have no idea how to control this. Not to mention, the game is really, really sensitive. I keep finding myself flipping over because even a slight turn to the left or right sends your plane into a spin, which isn't good because the same analog stick that moves your plane up and down is the stick you use to turn your plane left and right. This sucks because the game seems like it would be really cool. It has a ton of levels, 3 different eras you can play in, and this really cool instant action type mode where you can set up how many enemies you want to fight. But it's just not fun to play. I just could not get a hang of this game's controls, and I couldn't play it for very long. Maybe the PC version's better, maybe I'll try to track down a copy and see if I can get that working, but that PS2 port, avoid this one at all costs. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. It might actually be pretty fun once I get the controls down. The next game on our list is just called Top Gun. Released only in Europe in 2007 of all years, this game also came out on the PlayStation 2, and this might be one of the worst flight combat games I have ever played. My first red flag should have been it was a licensed PS2 game released exclusively in Europe in 2007. My second red flag should have been it was a CD game, not a DVD game. And my third red flag should have been that there is literally nothing about this game online. Like, I could not find any information about this game. Getting the ROM was hard enough. Upon starting a new game, you're introduced to the developers of this game, proudly explaining how you play their game. And this is the only time in the entire game there's any voice acting at all.
Hi, this is Blast. With a little help from me and a little help from Blast, together we'll show you how to play Top Gun. The plane is controlled using the analog sticks. The left analog stick, this one, allows you, the player, to bank and pitch the plane, like this. The right analog stick controls the thrust and slowing down of the plane. By moving the right analog stick forward, you accelerate, and by moving it backwards, you slow down.
Okay, I might have lied about this being the worst air combat game I've ever played. It's actually not that bad. It's way better than Combat Zone, which is sad. It's just not very good. This game kind of controls like how Star Wars Battlefront 2 controls its starfighters, so that's nice. It's easy to control, it's just not very fun to play. Though there is this one mission where you fly through this canyon and you have to blow up a bunker, just like the movie! Or, no, actually it's not just like the movie. This came out in 2007. So now, because I think it's funnier, I'm going to pretend that Top Gun Maverick stole one of the levels from this game to make it the whole plot of their movie. Why? I don't know, because I think it's funny, that's why. Actually, looking at this game, I mean, it's not that bad. It's just like, why would you go out of your way to play this one? Of all the games in the world you can play, why would you play this one? I'm just gonna give this one a 5 out of 10, because, like, it's not awful, but there's, like, no real reason to go out of your way to play this one. At least the PS1 game, I can kinda understand why you might want to play it. I mean, that one's just ace combat, but it looks worse. The next game on our list is a delisted iOS game, also just called Top Gun, that was later released on the PSP in 2009 under the PSP Minis brand. I plan on making a video on PSP Mini someday, but the TLDR version of it was mostly mobile phone games and some indie games ported to the PSP, PS3, and later PS Vita. This was an attempt by Sony to appear more developer-friendly after the PS3 was known for being a very hard system to develop for. This game, Top Gun, is interesting to me. Not because it's good, but just because I kind of am just impressed with it. Oh, don't get me wrong, it's probably the worst game on this list overall, but I have massive respect for this just existing. If I were to look at this as an iOS game, it's awful. If I were to look at this as a PSP game, it's awful. And if I were to look at this as some cheap PS3 downloadable title, it's absolutely awful. But looking at this as an indie game that got put on the PSP and the PS3, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. There's like a very, 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 very tiny line that I'm standing on here on why I think that this existing on the PSP and PS3 is cool. I mean, like, it's like a super tiny line, but that tiny little line is like the one reason I have any respect for this game whatsoever. Since this was an iOS game first, it's just an automatic scroller, but you fly a fighter jet and you shoot rockets and machine guns. The profile is the name of your character, so that's kind of cool. You're a self-insert in this game. These cover songs aren't the worst thing in the world. Should I talk about the story? So there's only 10 levels in this game, and I only beat like 3 of them because the third level got really hard for some reason, but basically the story is like set like after Top Gun 1, the movie, and you're like a new Top Gun recruit or something, and as you're doing your Top Gun training, you get attacked by a bunch of Russian fighters, which for some reason doesn't cause the US to go to war with Russia. But instead, the US and Russia just kind of have this little pissing contest with each other where they blow up a Russian ship and then they blow up some Russian gunboats in the third level, but the third level was really hard, so I never beat it. You meet Maverick and Iceman. They don't look like Maverick and Iceman, but I mean, that's Maverick and Iceman. Okay, let's just get the elephant out of the room. This game sucks. Playing it is just not fun. The gimmick is that you have to dodge certain parts of the screen because that's where missiles are, I guess, being shot at. And then you have to shoot planes that fly in front of you. But for some reason, the planes that fly in front of you have missiles that they can shoot behind themselves to hit you, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know what this game was called, but I do remember years and years and years ago, it was probably a Flash game, but I remember playing a game very similar to this on a computer. But after you dodged the missiles, your plane did like a flip or whatever, and it was like implying that your plane did a flip to get behind the enemy plane. But this game doesn't do that. It just has the enemy planes fly in front of you and shoot missiles behind them to hit you while you're behind the enemy plane. And I don't think that's how missiles work, so it's really stupid. 3 out of 10. The next game on our list is Top Gun Wingman Edition, and I do want to make a quick disclaimer. I am playing the PC version. I don't have a PS3 capture card, but I do have this game on PC, and I thought it'd just be easier to just play this game on PC because it's basically the same thing as the PS3 version, so I'm sorry. Please don't be mad at me. I honestly really like this game. This was released as a sort of anniversary present for the Top Gun movie, so the PS3 version of this game comes on a hybrid disc, which is a Blu-ray disc that has the Top Gun movie and the game on it. There were a few other PS3 games that had this special disc, so I plan on doing a video on that topic someday later. And a lot of DVDs and some Blu-rays used to have demos of games on them, so this wasn't like a new concept, but it's still interesting to see because the case and everything implies this is game, but what's on the disc is more movie than game. The game itself is, I mean, it's not like the greatest game in the world, but it's fun to play every now and again. It has a lengthy-ish campaign. It's whatever. I don't have footage of it because I didn't bother replaying it on my PC. But its survival mode is actually pretty fun. Like, no joke, I actually just find myself playing this game survival mode for like, maybe not hours, but at least an hour every few nights or so. I don't know, it's just kind of relaxing just flying around this icy tundra blowing up fighter jets. I mean, there's better games out there, but I don't know, I have a soft spot for this one. This one's enjoyable to me. And also, I mean, it's an awesome thing to own. Like, I have Top Gun the movie, so if I ever get bored of playing the game, I can just watch Top Gun the movie. I'm giving this one a 7 out of 10. It's probably a little too high for what this game is, but I mean, I don't know. It controls smooth. It feels smooth. The campaign's decent for what it's worth. There's a couple of unlockable planes, which are kind of fun to fly around. It used to have multiplayer, but that's been dead for, like, ever. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just have a soft spot for this one, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Okay, so I had to re-record this section, so I'm sorry if it sounds a little different, but the next game on our list is Top Gun Hardlock, which I think might actually be the best game, not only on this list, but it's might be one of the better air combat games out there. This game is a sort of sequel to Top Gun Wingman. It was developed by the same people, but it's technically a sequel to Top Gun the movie, and it's actually not that bad. The idea is that your character is a Top Gun graduate and is fighting in some fictional conflict in 2012 in the Gulf of some country. I think it's supposed to be Iran, but they don't say, so. I haven't beaten the campaign yet, but the game itself is just really, really fun. The gimmick to the game is hardlocking, which basically allows you, while dogfighting, to lock onto an enemy and then chase them in a sort of on-rails section where you can shoot at them while you're trying to lock your missiles onto them. Locking your missiles on guarantees a kill. While you're chasing them, you'll have to perform a variety of maneuvers, such as moving the analog stick to the left really fast, or moving the analog stick up and the right analog stick to the right, something like that. These maneuvers are used by the chasee to try to escape you. Now, just because you can hardlock onto enemies, that doesn't mean that you're safe. Enemies can hardlock onto you as long as you're not hardlocked onto someone, and this is where the evasive maneuver thing comes in. When you're being chased, you have to move around the screen to avoid the enemy locking onto you. Then you either have to move the analog stick into one of whatever direction it tells you to, and if you do it faster and better than your opponent, you then start chasing them. This system repeats until either you or the enemy are blown up. You don't have to hardlock, but hardlocking is basically a way to guarantee the kill, as you can't avoid the missile once it's fired. As a result, in normal gameplay, enemies are way more likely to evade your missiles and shoot flares, something not a lot of these games tend to do. So because of this, I actually have some really fond things to say about this game. I honestly think this game is actually really good. It's super expensive if you want to try to pick it up, and I mean, there is a PC version out there. It's not the easiest to come across. I found a key for it on Amazon of all places, but apparently it doesn't work on modern hardware, so good luck trying to get it working. I don't have a PS3 capture card, as you guys can clearly see, but that was the only system I have this game on, so that was the only thing I could play it on, so I do apologize for how bad the footage of this game looks. But yeah, this one's actually a pretty hidden gem. When I first recorded this segment, I gave this game a 6 out of 10, because I just couldn't really get into it, but I was replaying it just recently as I was editing the video, actually, and I actually really started to like the game's mechanics and the hardlock system, so I changed my score to 8 out of 10 instead of 6 out of 10. So that was all the licensed official Top Gun games, but there are 2 other games that I want to briefly talk about for a little bit. The first is the Top Gun Maverick Ace Combat 7 DLC. It's really unfair to put this game, Ace Combat 7, up against literally any of the Top Gun games I've talked about, and not because Ace Combat 7 came out in 2019, just because Ace Combat 7 is amazing and these games are shovelware. But like the first DLC mission of Ace Combat 7 is a better Top Gun game than all of these Top Gun games combined. You're just hopelessly outnumbered trying to protect several ships, just like in the movie. Like, it's really weird to me. Ace Combat 7 is like its own thing, but with the Top Gun DLC, it basically makes a better Top Gun game than every Top Gun game that's on the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3. Like, I don't even know how you do that by accident. That's just sad, man. Like, no offense to the Top Gun games, but like, you got beaten out by a DLC. And then last, there's Top Gun Air Combat, which is an unlicensed indie game, I guess. I did not play this game. Why did I not play this game? Because there's a PlayStation 4 version for $8 and a PlayStation 5 version for $20. I really didn't want to buy this game. No offense to the developers, but I just don't want to pay money for something that looks terrible and something that I'm literally never going to play after making this video. Also, $20 for a PS5 version? It doesn't even look even slightly better than the PS4 version. And it doesn't even have a platinum trophy. Like, what's the point? I get it, it's an indie game. Sony doesn't usually let indie games have a platinum trophy, but that's besides the point. If it had a platinum trophy, at least it might have been kind of worth getting, because then I could have gotten a platinum trophy. Anyway, yeah, that was every Top Gun game on the PlayStation. And as a whole, I'm more impressed these exist rather than if they're good or not. Like, Top Gun is a great movie, but it getting games as late as the 2010s is kind of nuts to me. Like, the PS1 game, okay, I kind of get it. This was the first generation to have fully 3D graphics, and I think DVD players were starting to become a thing, so why not try to capitalize on the movie getting a re-release on DVD by releasing a PS1 game on CD? Top Gun Wingman Edition, also, I get that. That was like an anniversary re-release. You were buying it mostly for the movie. The game was just kind of like a nice little bonus that you could get. It's not like some outlandish thing that shouldn't exist. It's a neat little collector's piece. But 2 games on the PlayStation 2? A sequel to Top Gun Wingman Edition on the PS3? I don't know, man. Like, that's a lot. And it's crazy, too, because, 3 years after Top Gun Maverick came out, the only Top Gun-related thing we got, unless maybe Top Gun Air Combat released recently. I don't actually know when that game released, but the only Top Gun thing we got video game-wise was the Ace Combat DLC. And I know I just said it's weird that there were so many Top Gun games when Top Gun was just a single movie, but why aren't there any Top Gun Maverick games? You would think that with something like Top Gun Maverick making $1 bajillion simply for not being a Marvel movie would have, had at least maybe some small studio try to grab the movie license and make a Top Gun Maverick Ace Combat ripoff game and just shove it onto the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I mean, maybe that's what Top Gun Air Combat is, but I just think that game just decided to call itself Top Gun Air Combat, and no lawyer was like, "Ooh, maybe we should sue them." I just think they just got lucky and got away with it. Anyway, I know I was just complaining that there's so many of them, but why stop? Why not just keep making more Top Gun games? I'm sure these games, the older games didn't sell well, at all, but I don't know, it's just weird. There were a ton of Top Gun games every decade, and now there's no Top Gun games. Basically what I'm saying is I want more games like Ace Combat, where you can fly around and get that adrenaline rush of just being in a dogfight. Because we don't have a whole lot of Ace Combat-like games, especially not now. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. I know this video was a little bit more choppy compared to my normal review videos. I don't know, I was just kind of trying to do my own thing this time around. I don't know, with Top Gun Maverick having been released recently, I kind of scrambled to get this video out in time, so it's a little choppy, especially this outro, but if you're new here, hi, welcome, hope you stick around. If this type of video interested you, I'm going to be doing a video on the Ace Combat games at some point in the future, so yeah, feel free to stick around for that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.